All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the welcome and introduction. I'm Tyler McCloskey, the planning chair. I don't know why there's a weird echo.
Are you online too?
Yep, not on my computer.
Weird. Do an echo.
No, I'm not on Zoom.
Try now. All right, we'll keep going. So I'm Tyler McCloskey, the Planning Commission Chair. We'll start down there with Wayne.
Wayne Wright, Planning Commissioner.
Tiffany Mitchell, Planning Commissioner.
Annette Stewart, Planning Commissioner.
Paul Fontenot, Planning Commissioner.
Jim Fisk, Principal Planner.
Nick Bond, Community Development Director.
Fitzu Bethea, Planning Intern. Connor Dahlquist, Associate Planner.
And on Zoom, it looks like we have Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie Bailey, Planning Commission. Tyler, did you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Stephanie, can you hear us?
Yes.
Stephanie, if you're speaking, we are not able to hear you. And we lost Stephanie.
She might be coming in. Oh.
She's Joe. You want to ask Joe?
And Joe, if you can hear us.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me.
Can you guys hear me now? No. Shoot.
This one.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Stephanie.
Fantastic. Hello. Anyhow, reintroduction, Stephanie Bailey, Planning Commissioner.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we had Joe, but it looks like we lost Joe. Okay. All right, moving on to audience comments. It doesn't look like there's anybody in here. Is there anyone online? If there's anyone online that would like to speak, please raise your hand.
There are no others online.
All right, thank you, Connor. Moving on to the approval of the July 1st, 2025 minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? All right, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Nope.
Okay. Is all in favor of approving the minutes as written?
Hi.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I wasn't here. I abstained.
Okay, thank you. All right, so minutes pass as written. Moving on to the business items 5A, the public hearing, critical areas ordinance, the POMC 20.162. Jim?
Yeah, tonight we'd like to provide an update on the city's work to revise our critical areas ordinance. Port Orchard Municipal Code 20.162. This work is being done as part of the 2024 Comprehensive Plan implementation. As you know, these updates are designed to ensure our regulations align with the Growth Management Act and reflect best available science in how we protect critical areas. We've been discussing this ordinance since last winter with presentations in December, January, and February. The February meeting, staff shared a comment matrix summarizing the public and agency feedback. We've updated that periodically throughout this process and have provided you the up-to-date matrix at every meeting. In July and August, we've provided and presented a near final draft. Your feedback from that meeting in July helped shape several changes. The most notable change since July is in the section on critical areas verification. Currently, we do not have a way to confirm whether critical areas are present on a site unless there's an active permit application. The proposed language introduces a process that allows the city to verify site conditions earlier in a process so property owners and consultants can better assess feasibility before jumping into full project planning. Other updates in the CAO include a reorganization of code sections to improve clarity and usability, updated wetland buffer standards consistent with Department of Ecology guidance, a modernized mitigation hierarchy that supports tools like mitigation banking, replacing stream buffer with riparian management zone in line with Fish and Wildlife terminology, and updated those riparian management zone standards that meet or exceed Fish and Wildlife minimums to better protect those habitats. These changes are consistent with state law and help implement comprehensive plan goals related to environmental protection and public safety. As a reminder, critical areas under state law include wetlands, aquifer recharge areas, fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas, frequently flooded areas, and geologically hazardous areas. Procedurally, the city issued a SEPA determination of non-significance on September 12th and routed the draft ordinance to the Department of Commerce on the same day for their required 60-day review. Tonight, we are asking the Planning Commission to open a public hearing, which was properly noticed consistent with the requirements of POMC 20.25 to take public testimony. After tonight's hearing and upon a recommendation of the Planning Commission, we anticipate bringing the final ordinance to the City Council for consideration at their November 18th meeting.
Thanks, Jim. A lot of work went into this. And we'll start down with Wayne, if you have any thoughts or comments.
Yeah, I've went through this several times, and most recently this afternoon, I read the whole thing one more time. I found one typo. It's on page 58 of the document you sent to us. It's 20.162.070-7F. You've got number 6, stream bank stabilization, embedded in that F portion. I think that's a mistake. You'll want to take a look at that and find where that goes, or it needs to be deleted, one or the other. But otherwise, I want to commend staff on going through this pretty well with our consultants. My comments are well documented. Still too much red for me, guys. I'd like to see more of my comments embedded. Honestly, I've been doing this for 4 years. But my comments are on the record, so I'm going to recommend to the council that they read the comment page carefully and consider this document for what it is. Thank you.
I have no additional comments other than I also appreciate the work that has gone into this. It's been a lot and a learning experience for me too. So I just really appreciated it. And yeah, thank you.
Annette?
No comments. I think it looks good.
Paul?
Yeah, my only comments regarding just a lot of the work that's been put on. Of course, we've seen this a couple of times now. It's not the first time we're seeing this. In terms of public absence from the public hearing today, I think that more goes less into maliciousness and more to either indifference or an assumption that we already had an ordinance in our code that already specified this, as Jim had mentioned, that we don't currently have a vehicle by which these evaluations can be done without a full development going on, which is a hindrance for the environmental wing. It's also a hindrance for property owners who want to do things. So it just seems like it's long overdue. So that's my approval.
Thanks, Paul. Taking it online, Stephanie, do you have any comments?
No comments. Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Stephanie. Joe, any comments?
No comments. Thank you.
All right. And as we do not have anyone in here from the public, I guess we'll open and close the public hearing portion.
Yeah, I think you have to ask, but I think you're on the right track there.
Okay. Is there any objection to closing the public hearing? I will, is there a motion for this? No. No. Just it. Okay.
Well, hang on. So since you're recommending, whatever you're recommending to the city council, that needs to be in the form of a motion and a second.
I will.
You'll want to close the public hearing then.
Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
I motion that City Council pass the updated critical areas ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Annette. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Passes unanimously. Moving on to business item 5B, a discussion of the co-living housing House Bill 1998. Jim?
Okay, so bear with me. Tonight, we're presenting proposed amendments to Port Orchard Municipal Code in response to House Bill 1998, which was adopted by the state legislature in March 2024. This bill requires cities like Port Orchard to allow co-living housing in areas zoned for multifamily and mixed-use development. Co-living refers to residential developments made up of individually rented lockable sleeping units. Each unit includes private living and sleeping space, but residents share kitchen facilities. The intent is to provide more affordable rental options for moderate to low-income individuals, especially single-person households, seniors, and those seeking a more social or cost-effective alternative to traditional apartments. Importantly, this housing model does not rely on public subsidies. House Bill 1998 identifies co-living as a tool to address Washington's housing affordability crisis. It encourages adaptive reuse of existing buildings and aims to reduce pressure on family-sized units and subsidized housing. The legislation directs cities to remove regulatory barriers and treat co-living housing equitably in terms of development standards and review procedures. So what that means for us is that co-living must be permitted on any lot that allows 6 or more multifamily units. We cannot impose requirements beyond state building code standards for room sizes or unit configurations. Parking requirements are limited within a half mile of major transit, and no off-street parking can be required elsewhere. No more than 0.25 spaces can be required per sleeping unit. Co-living must be treated as a permitted use. Conditional use permits will not apply. And for density calculations, each sleeping unit counts as 1/4 of a dwelling unit. For sewer fees, no more than 1/2. For example, in the R3 zone, which allows 6 dwelling units in an apartment, a co-living development could include up to 24 sleeping units. To comply with House Bill 1998, the city must adopt updated zoning and development regulations by the end of this year. If we don't, the state law will override any conflicting local rules. Fortunately, any action we take to comply is protected from legal challenge under SEPA and the Growth Management Act. In your packet tonight, you'll find red line amendments to 4 code sections. In 2012, definitions clarifies what qualifies as co-living and ensures it does not bypass multifamily development standards. 20.32 in building types is a change to the number of units in an apartment from 5 to 6. That was originally intended to housing bill, HB 1110, middle housing, 6 dwelling units, and co-living is allowed in multifamily, which in this bill in 1998 is 6. So those two pieces of state legislation in a little bit of conflict, but the red line that we provided clarifies it for us. In the use provisions in 20.39, we've consolidated group living uses like boarding houses and dorms dorms into a single co-living category. And then we further defined co-living in section 20.39.115. 20.124, we did a lot of work on this in the middle housing bill. Units under 1,200 square feet are not required to provide any parking standards as it is. This amendment clarifies co-living as a use and distinguishes that from dwelling units. These amendments meet the minimum requirements of House Bill 1998. They also follow the guidance provided from the Department of Commerce. They provide guardrails to prevent co-living from being used to circumvent multifamily development standards. Following tonight's review, the city's SEPA responsible official is expected to issue a determination of non-significance and transmit the proposed amendments to the Department of Commerce for their required review. Staff will properly notice a public hearing for your November 4 meeting, where it will take public testimony and ask for your recommendation to the City Council. Final council action is tentatively scheduled for November 18th following Commerce's expedited review. So I'm happy to answer any questions or walk through the proposed changes in more detail.
Thank you, Jim. We'll start down with Wayne. Did you have any clarifying questions?
Well, I understand what's going on, but you're talking about 7 units, starts the whole process, and it's got to have sleeping units, which has a bathroom, might have a kitchenette, might not, lockable. How's that really different than a small hotel or motel? I'm not quite sure. I'm understanding the thing.
These units could possibly have a kitchenette, and it starts at 6 dwelling units is kind of the base standard. All right. They don't have to have a kitchen. They can have a kitchenette. Okay, there's no kitchen involved in each one of these units.
How's it different than a motel or hotel? Like residence inns all have the same thing. They have a small kitchenette, they've got a bathroom, they've got living space. They're usually about 3 to 5 minutes.
It's very similar. Yes.
So you're putting this then in what zoning units, what zoning areas are going to get?
These will be permitted in R3, all the mixed use districts, R4, R5, and commercial corridor. All of those districts allow at least 6 multifamily units.
And parking is no different than it is now.
Parking is not required. And we have, in our current code, we have a similar use. It's called congregate living facility. That requires a conditional use permit, and it had some location criteria associated with it. This bill does not allow us to apply those same location criteria, but that was permitted as a use in the R2 district. This amendment would take that out of R2 completely, but it would be permitted in all of those districts.
And how is this similar to adult care facilities? Many adult care facilities have small, like apartments with kitchenettes for adults.
Sure, yeah, no.
That's already in here, so now we've got 2 things that are kind of similar.
Kind of, except that congregate care facility, I believe the version that you have has a definition of that, and that definition comes from the standard industrial classification. And that really intends to have on-site service and care, nursing facilities and things like that. Co-living is not that. They are independent living quarters.
Okay, thanks.
Tiffany, any questions?
So just to go off of the question that we just had on congregate living facilities, and I was going through it and I just searched it to make sure I saw it. Congregate living facilities is redlined out. So we're no longer, like you said, we consolidated all of this, right?
So in 20.39, we've moved some of those co-living uses like a dorm and moved that into co-living into a new section in 20.39.115. In 20.12, and you may actually have an out-of-date version now that I'm thinking about it. We've had discussion with legal on this. In 2012, congregate living facilities as defined, the last half of that definition is intended to be struck. So it's still defined, except those location criteria are taken out. Okay, congregate care facility, that is in 20.110, which is group living. We've included a definition in 2012 to further clarify that it's like a nursing home facility or something like that.
The only other thing is, I echo Wayne's concern over parking, but that's just because I think we live in a world, in a community of people that rely on their cars for transportation. That said, as you mentioned earlier, and I believe it says it in here too, that we can't impose requirements that are stronger than the state law. So like we couldn't put in those parking requirements even if we wanted to, correct?
Well, and it would also conflict with what the planning commission recommended for the council for approval this summer. So those two things would conflict, but yes, you're right. We cannot impose greater standards.
Yep.
It's just a follow-up on that too. This is Wayne Wright again. Congregate care living is not defined in the definitions. Congregate living facilities in our file is struck completely.
Okay.
So we need to be sure that the definitions of these things are properly in here so we understand what's going on.
So what I will do immediately following this, or maybe tomorrow, I'll send you all the current red line. I apologize. This packet went out before we got some feedback from legal. I'll provide that to you well in advance of a hearing in November. I think that'll clarify a lot of it for you. But if you have any questions about it, you can call me and we can discuss it. I don't
Okay.
have a problem with that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Annette, did you have any questions?
Not really, just some comments. I agree with, like, what is the difference between senior living or apartments or hotels, but I'm good. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Is that kind of like what's gone up here?
At the Amici House at DeKalb and Harrison, I think?
Yeah, is that kind of what this is?
That's correct.
Okay.
In fact, the Department of Commerce guidance actually has a photograph of that property as an example of
Did-
co-living.
Okay.
Paul, any questions?
Yeah, sort of, again, I guess commenting off of other commissioners' comments, it seems to me this is an awful lot like mostly housing for people who are low income or this is their first rentals. So for me, I have experience with that when I was in my undergrad program. I could have stayed in a dorm, which would have provided a lot of what this had, but it would have been $13,000 every 3 months, and I didn't have that. So instead, I had the opportunity to rent out a room in a house, which was around $500 a month, which was much more agreeable. And without that opportunity, I would not have been able to basically rent anywhere. And so being able to offer that, especially for kids who maybe are getting up on their feet, 18, 19-year-olds who don't have that kind of income yet, in terms of being able to offer parking spaces to them, again, taking from my own experience as a young college student, I had no car because I couldn't afford housing, let alone a car. So being able to offer that to those kinds of people, I think that it is true what Tiffany said of we kind of live in a community that unfortunately kind of forces people to own a car and forces people to occupy a car. But the fact of the matter also is that there are many Port Orchard residents who don't drive. And if we are leaving out these kinds of options of housing and leaving out these kinds of options of being able to access those sort of things, and we're leaving out those people as well. So in terms of this legislation, obviously the state deemed it necessary, and I think it's just one more measure to kind of allow more opportunities for housing, with trying to deal with the housing crisis that the Pacific Northwest in general is dealing with right now. I think is very important. Obviously, I frankly don't think it really hurts anybody either way. In terms of the differences between this kind of housing and dorms or hotels or things like that, I know that hotels and motels are significantly more expensive on average than a lot of these co-living spaces. But they offer also a lot of opportunity if people have that space and maybe they're not using it for one reason or another, to be able to rent that out and maybe earn supplemental income. So in that vein, it's kind of a win-win for a lot of people. So my thoughts on it.
Thanks. Online, Stephanie, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time. I kind of want to learn a little more about it before I lend any comments.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Joe, any questions or comments?
I'll just comment that I live in the neighborhood where Amici House is, and I think I think our neighborhood benefited from the refurbishment of a previously dormant building, and the establishment of these units. And I think it's gone well. I also think um, the parking around that facility has been managed well in addition. So I'm enthusiastic.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so Jim, you will send out the updated version, and then we will hear this for the public hearing in November.
Yes, I'm sending it right now.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so moving on to 5C, the director's report. Nick?
Yeah, I just have two announcements tonight. At our November meeting, the Public Works Department is going to be in attendance, and they're going to be here talking about tree canopy. And the city, under our NPDES permit, that's National Pollution Discharge Elimination, CS stand for. System.
Oh, no.
Thank you. We have a permit that gets renewed every 5 years from the feds that allows us to discharge our stormwater into federal receiving waters. And so one of the conditions of that new permit is that we establish goals and policies to improve tree canopy within the city. And so they're going to start laying the groundwork for some eventual code revisions, which will include an updated citywide tree canopy ordinance. And so look forward to that presentation in November. The other thing I wanted to share with the Planning Commission is that you probably all have heard, and if not, this will be news to you, but Kitsap Bank has decided to merge with Heritage Bank out of Olympia. And unfortunately, that means that the downtown bank headquarters is no longer needed as office space. And so we have been meeting with Kitsap Bank, and we're going to be meeting with the new managers that will be taking over from Heritage Bank. And we are being assured that Kitsap Bank intends to be a good steward of the downtown. They want to find the right person to take over their project, whether it be office or whether they convert that building to be more of like a boutique hotel or a mixed-use building with residential over retail. They do want to see a project go forward, and they're going to look for the right person to help accomplish that. So we were a little shocked when we heard the news last week, but we are more optimistic after meeting with Kitsap Bank that they intend to do the right thing for Port Orchard, and hopefully will give us a good project. So I'll keep you updated if I hear anything more on our downtown.
Hey, Nick.
Question, Nick. Wasn't that where the community center was going to go? The Kitsap facility?
No, Kitsap Bank was going to build a new headquarters next to the community center where their drive-through is. And so they had proposed a 3-story office building that was going to be one of the 3 legs of our 3-legged stool of redevelopment, which is now down to 1 leg, which is the community event center. We're also hopeful that the southern side of Bay Street will redevelop as part of that. We always expected that to come last, but now we have a hole to fill with the Kitsap Bank headquarters not being there.
So this move doesn't affect the community center?
Does not affect the
Okay.
community center, no.
Thank you.
So quick clarification on that. So right now Kitsap Bank is suggesting that they're looking for somebody to take over the construction of that building and changing it to something else, or what is that?
Yeah, they've indicated to the mayor and I that they are seeking individuals who would potentially develop one or both of their sites and take ownership of them and assume the role in there are pending permits right now. There's a shoreline permit that's been issued, and so they would like to sell those entitlements to somebody who's going to do the right thing, but only if they are going to develop in a timely manner and they aren't just looking to sit on the property, is what we're being told. On the paved parking lot here is owned by the bank, and it could stay under bank ownership. It could be sold. It could provide parking for whatever develops across the street. We don't know yet.
One other kind of a public works question, I guess. Now that ivy has been deemed invasive, are they can we start taking it out, or like the boulevard, for example? There's so much of that growing up the trees, and will that be removed?
I have heard nothing about Ivy from Public Works, but you'd have to ask them. Maybe you can ask them at next month's meeting.
Big thing about the state is that
And it looked like Stephanie had a question online.
Ashley Wayne asked it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments for the good of the order? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. We will meet next on November 4th. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.